Have you ever noticed that no matter how much progress you make with your vision, with your manifestation, there is always another goal on the horizon? It almost feels like you're chasing a never-ending finish line, like you are constantly on this uphill battle. That's because manifestation can become an addiction. It can turn into a loop that never satisfies you. Why does this happen, and how do you break out of it? Let's talk about it. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Lorena. I'm a somatic self-concept and identity coach, and I support women in bridging the gap between who they currently are or perceive themselves to be and who they desire to be or become, so that you can break even the most persistent patterns and repetitive cycles in your life, break out of unwanted circumstances and relationship dynamics, and finally step into the version of yourself and the reality that you desire and that you very much deserve. The reason we want to manifest things into our reality is because what we really desire is fulfillment. We have a vision because maybe there's a goal that gives us purpose, or that just calls us from deep within our soul. And that's because we have an inkling that that will give us fulfillment. It will give us contentment and happiness, and it will make us feel alive. But often on this journey, in this process, you might be fixated on one specific goal, or maybe multiple. Maybe it's the relationship that you're wanting to call in, the purpose you're stepping into, the career you want to have, the lifestyle you're after. But what you don't realize is that even when you hit that goal, it's not the end. Manifestation can become an addiction in itself. It can be rooted in an attempt to control. It can be coming from a trauma response. You can see it in how many women are absolutely obsessive about their manifestation, about their desires, seeking out more and more information and trying to fix their current reality by successfully manifesting what they want. In this video, we will explore the endless cycle of chasing, why there is no end result. We'll dive into manifestation as a coping mechanism, our addiction to dopamine, how to spot whether you're maybe a little bit addicted to the manifestation process or the manifestation itself, and how to stop it so that you can still get what you want. We're not stopping you from getting what you want, but you will get what you want and actually feel fulfilled when you have it. Let's start with an example so that you can maybe see yourself in this. I feel this will resonate with a lot of women. Maybe you feel like you want a relationship, and maybe you're dating this person, but they just don't want to commit to you. Well, now you think what you want is the commitment. So you're working on manifesting this because you think that when you have the commitment, you'll be happy. You'll be satisfied. But what's likely going to happen is one of two things. Either, once it manifests, you're still not going to be satisfied because now you want the next thing. Now you actually want them to move in with you, or now you want to get married. You want more. What you've received isn't enough. And that's also because an external manifestation cannot create the feeling for you. It cannot create the experience for you of actually being chosen, of actually being loved. I shared in a different video a few weeks back how one of my clients once confessed to me that even if the relationship she was manifesting would come in at that moment in time, she wouldn't have been able to receive it because she just felt so unloved and so unwanted that even getting that exact thing, that exact experience, wouldn't have met that need. Her consciousness would have looked for more reasons why it wasn't real, why she couldn't believe it, why it wasn't working, why it would go away again. Or in this example of manifesting commitment, what can also happen is that because for your ego, the chase itself, the manifestation process itself can feel very appealing, because it gives you the illusion of control. It gives you sort of like a project to work on, to dive into, to commit to. You actually never receive the manifestation. Without wanting to do so consciously, you're keeping it at a distance. Because on a subconscious level, that allows you to stay in an energy of chasing or pursuing something, which paradoxically can make you feel safe. Not stable, but safe. Because what happens when it's completed? What happens when you actually have what you want and you are living the life you want to live? Now there's nothing more to get. It can kind of make you feel a bit disillusioned. And let me know if this example is familiar to you. Or if you maybe have a different example where you manifested something, but it didn't satisfy you long term because you began chasing the next result. Or where you maybe feel like you're keeping yourself stuck because there's a part of you that is afraid of it working out. Share it in the comments if you have a story. So you may think that you don't want to be in the energy of chasing, because who wants to be in an energy of chasing? But the chase gives you control. Keeping the desire unconsciously at a distance allows you to stay in pursuit. And that process can become addictive. It's like the goalpost always moves and the summit will always be out of reach. It's simultaneously satisfying and also deeply frustrating. Why does this happen though? We live in a world of short attention spans and quick dopamine hits. Now, I'm not going to go super deep into dopamine because that would warrant a whole masterclass, a whole teaching on its own, but dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It is part of the brain's reward system. It's what gives you motivation, it's what gives you reward, it's what gives you pleasure. And manifesting what you want is a big freaking dopamine hit. And the world we currently live in thrives of really quick and instant dopamine hits. That's also why in the manifestation world, if something says, get it fast, manifest instantly, people jump on it. And I'm not exempt from that, right? Not with the manifestation stuff, but it's stuff like you get a like on Instagram and you feel something in your body, but it's elusive. It passes quickly. It doesn't actually have any meaning. Or maybe you get a text from your crush and you feel this high. But once there's silence again, even for a day or two, it no longer feels good. So these types of highs, they can come from scrolling on your phone, getting achievements, even seeing signs. I recently, for the first time ever, really came across the tarot community on YouTube. And I got nosy. And I checked it out. And I don't have anything against tarot. I read tarot. I'm sure there are really amazing readers out there. This isn't about the community as a whole, but I saw how a lot of the messages had the same angle, which was to keep the viewer in a cycle of hope. And it's a beautiful thing to hope. But when you stay there without actual resolution, you're always reaching, you're always grasping, you're never feeling like you really arrive. You're staying in this limbo. Now, why are these dopamine loops so appealing, even though we know it doesn't last? You know that you don't just want a text from your crush. You actually want the full relationship. You actually want to feel loved and chosen. You know that getting a like on Instagram doesn't mean anything about your worth. You actually just want to feel confident. But even though you know that, these dopamine loops, these cycles can be really, really appealing. Even though you know that tarot reader on YouTube isn't necessarily predicting your future, it soothes your system when you hear, yeah, you're gonna get what you want. You don't need to do anything. It's on its way to you. Brain chemistry aside, because as I said, that's a whole masterclass that we could do on that. These quick dopamine hits really just help us cope. They help avoid emotional discomfort, because when you don't have that, you'll actually have to sit with what you're feeling. And truthfully, manifestation journeys are most appealing to women who are in some type of trauma response. And I include myself in that because that's how I started. Spirituality as a whole attracts, I would say, quite vulnerable people. It attracts people who are seeking something, who are seeking truth, who are seeking fulfillment, who are seeking to heal some type of pain. So therefore, often women who feel attracted to a manifestation journey are in a place where their nervous system is totally dysregulated to start out with, looking for something to soothe the way they feel, where they feel stuck, where they have wounds of feeling unloved and unchosen and unsuccessful, where they maybe feel lost. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about the nervous system and manifestation. I do have a whole video series on it, so feel free to check that out. We're talking in that also about manifestation as a trauma response and how to manifest without creating more trauma. But when I first started coaching, nobody was talking about manifestation in connection to the nervous system. It was all Abraham Hicks, positive thinking and saying affirmations. And maybe you're coming from that world, but there's now a lot more talk about the nervous system and the manifestation space. But what's often talked about, or what I often see talked about, is it's explained in the context of dealing with triggers. And maybe you're giving practices or exercises, somatic ones or breathing exercises. And yeah, that is part of it, right? I also teach you to change your habitual nervous system state, because a lot of what manifestation is about creating safety to receive and to maintain. But it goes so much deeper than that. It goes so much deeper than just regulation. What I see in a lot of my clients is that they think they have a regulated nervous system. They might think that they are calm. Of course, some of them come to me with quite a lot of anxiety and doubt, but some of them really think they are calm. They think they are regulated. They might even think that they have a good connection to their body, but they're actually completely dysregulated. They're actually in a constant fight or flight response. And that very response makes them use coping mechanisms. That can be going out and partying. It can be emotional eating. It can be doom scrolling on your phone. It can be looking for more information, something to fix online. Even watching YouTube video after YouTube video or listening to podcast after podcast. It can be never being able to truly be with your emotions, being present with what you're feeling. It can be never having the capacity to be with what is, but instead always having to have something or someone there to fix it. Now, that is why the process that I teach for sustainable self-concept transformation, for embodied manifestation, which I do in my coaching program, Recreate Yourself, it really has the basis in a strong foundation in your nervous system, a rewiring of your habitual nervous system state, your go-to state, a deep connection with your subconscious, and constant emotional integration, not just regulation. So how do you shift out of that dopamine-driven chasing pattern? How do you move into a more sustainable sense of fulfillment? It's about a real deep connection to your body, because that is what will create the stability for you. That is what creates presence for you, what breaks you out of chasing and constant dopamine loops. True, successful manifestation and identity work is embodied. It has to be. It has to include a solid foundation of your state of being and also of your identity, where you don't constantly go back and forth, where you don't constantly get triggered having to regulate yourself. It's normal to get triggered from time to time, right? But we don't want to have to cycle through the same emotional patterns day in, day out. When it comes to the nervous system work that we do in Recreate Yourself, that I do with my clients there, it is foundational. It begins with understanding your nervous system, your individual nervous system. It comes down to building sustainable and healthy coping mechanisms, and rooting into being and identity instead of chasing. Because yes, they do receive the manifestation they want, but also, more importantly, it doesn't become a constant cycle of chasing. They are living from a place of internal fulfillment, no matter what their reality looks like. And then they really get to enjoy the process. If you're curious to learn more about how the nervous system plays into reprogramming the subconscious, then check out a free masterclass replay that I've got linked below. It's called Beneath the Surface, and it's a masterclass around shadow work, ego integration, and your subconscious. If you find that you cycle through highs and lows, let's say you make some progress with your manifestation, something comes in, something happens, and suddenly you feel really good and you have a really good mood. It's like your state is dependent on it. But then maybe the next day something triggering happens, or you're met with silence for a while. Your state dips, you're not able to hold the frame. Essentially, you crash when nothing external affirms your progress. And that's how you know you're outsourcing your state. You might have a little addiction to manifestation. You might be a little addicted to the chase, because now you're relying on something external to create your state for you, rather than the other way around. That's problematic because it will continue forever. Nothing will ever scratch that itch. Like I always say, there is no end result. I have a whole separate video on this. Desire is infinite. It's ever evolving and ever changing. When a desire is met, you'll get a new desire. So the question is, how do you get to enjoy the process? Now, it's worth noting, many desires are trauma coded. The idea of manifesting your reality, of manifesting circumstances intentionally into your life or changes intentionally into your life, that often comes from a trauma response itself. Because desires often derive from what you once didn't have. They always come from lack because you don't want something you already have. You're grateful for what you already have, but you don't seek something that already exists for you, that is normal for you. For example, if you didn't receive love or validation or attention in your childhood, well, now you might be looking to manifest love, manifest a relationship. So manifestation here essentially becomes a strategy to fix or to attempt to heal past pain. Whether consciously or unconsciously, you think that once you manifest the relationship, you'll feel wanted, when in all actuality, you need to feel wanted before the manifestation comes in. What you're truly chasing is a feeling, not a person, not a thing. Now, I'm not saying don't want what you want. In fact, in my work with clients and the process that I teach and guide them through in Recreate Yourself, manifestation is also the outcome. It's just not the focus. Your self-concept, your embodiment, your nervous system state need to be the basis. And when you finally break the loop of addiction and manifestation becomes something that is rooted in embodiment, the things you want will come to you a lot more naturally because you're not relying on them to make you happy, because you're not attached to them validating your worth. Your worth has come first. You're meant to be happy regardless of external circumstances. Your job is to embody the version of you who is already fulfilled, who's already magnetic and confident. You become magnetic by being and not by effort. Let me know how all of this resonates with you. If you like this video, please do leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already and you want to see more videos. And if you want to do this work with me, then my coaching program, Recreate Yourself, is linked below. Feel free to message me on Instagram if you have any questions, and I will see you in next week's video.